Hi guys, I'm Mark and I'm an Oyster boy, and today I'm in the kitchen and I'm going to be making up 12 balls of 100% Biga dough, which I'm then going to freeze, so I've got pizza dough on hand ready to use whenever I want without having to go to the faff of making it all. Now, there's quite a few videos online, but I haven't found one really that shows you all the way through the process from making the dough, at what stage to freeze it, and then when you do get it out of the freezer, what you need to do with it. So come along and I'll show you how I do it. So why would you want to have dough balls in your freezer? Well, ultimately, the truth of the matter is that pizza dough definitely does taste better when you give it 1 or 2 days in the fridge to ferment and really develop some nice complex flavours. And unfortunately, the real world means that you don't know when you wake up on a Saturday morning sometimes that you're going to be wanting to have pizza on Saturday afternoon. So with the best will in the world, you can make a quick dough, and actually there's a link in the description down below and up there of me showing you how to make a quick dough using beer instead of water, which is going to add some extra flavour in there, but it's still not going to be the same as doing a 2-day fermented dough. So what this allows you to do is to do all of that legwork when you have got time, and then capture that flavour, freeze it, and then all you have to do is take it out of the freezer, wait 5 or 6 hours, and then you've got a really flavoursome, well-fermented dough that you can just whip out whenever you want. So there is a massive benefit to it, but what's the benefit of doing this yourself rather than going out and buying frozen dough balls from, I don't know, Uni make them, and you can buy great balls of flour. I think maybe Of course, you got one, Peddling Pizza sells his, and there's a few other places as well. A lot of Italian supermarkets online, like AD Maria, you can go on there and buy their frozen dough balls. But the real big downside of buying those is the price. Like, they're charging between £2 and £3 for one dough ball, and you've got to buy them in a pack of 12 or 24. So the price really racks up. So if we were to look at that and say, well, £3 for one dough ball from some of those retailers, and actually this entire batch to make 12 dough balls is going to cost, I think, about £3.50 at the time of filming this video. So really it's much, much cheaper. But yeah, you do have to put some effort in yourself, but the results, I think, are actually better than those frozen dough balls as well. But I mean, you'll see how these frozen dough balls work towards the end of this video. And if you go online and look online, you can find videos of people using like the Uni frozen dough balls and see how they turn out. And I think mine look better, to be honest. But that's just me. You know, you do your own research, form your own opinions on those. But I think there's definitely other good reasons to have these. And actually, frozen dough balls overall, regardless of whether you make them yourself or you buy them, they are handy. A lot of these pizza ovens are now becoming more and more portable. Maybe you're going for a weekend away with some friends and you want to take it with you, but you also don't want to take a stand mixer. You don't want to spend hours and hours making dough. So frozen dough balls are great to take down, shove them in the freezer there, and then on the day you want to make pizza, you can really impress everyone by just, you know, whipping them out, defrosting them, and then showing them how, you know, how skilled you are at making pizza, and you just pass it off as your own. But if you're a bit price conscious, or if you just want to try making things yourselves, or you want to tweak that recipe, a little bit more salt, a little bit more flavour, you know, a little bit less of this and that and the other, then try doing this yourself. But let's skip forward now and see what the next steps are. Okay, so here we've got my dough mixer. You can do this all by hand if you really want to, or you could use any kind of normal stand mixer. So I'm going to be making a pre-ferment, which is like a Biga. Most people, I think, would do this in a box where you just shake it all together, but I'm going to do it in the mixer because I just find it a little bit easier to make sure everything's fully incorporated. I'll be making the Biga using just over 2 kilos of Caputo Nuvola flour. I'll be using just over 900 mils of water and just over 9 grams of instant dried yeast. I'll put the exact measurements in the description down below for you to take a look at if you want. And at this stage, we're not really wanting to knead this dough fully to build a really strong gluten structure. We're just wanting to make sure that everything's incorporated, that the yeast has been hydrated by the water, and everything's mixed together and starts to form up. At which point, we're just going to rip everything into chunks, throw it in a box, leave it on the worktop for, I think, maybe 2 or 3 hours, and then it's going to go in the fridge for between 1 and 2 days until I've got time and I'm ready to make the dough balls. So let's get this started off. Now, this may or may not be the best angle that we could possibly imagine, but we're just going to go for it and see what we can get on film. There we go. So there's the 2 kilos of flour in and the yeast in there. We'll just Turn this on to get those two things all spun together. And then we're going to add in our 900 mils of water. Now this will end up being quite a dry dough because it's sort of less than 50% hydration, but we just want it to form up really. Okay, so after a few minutes, the dough has come together into this sort of like, it's not, you know, it's very, very dry, snaps super easily, but everything is incorporated. So now we're going to get the dough into a box. So as you can see, I've got a plastic box here. It comes with a lid. Now, I'm just going to tear this up into chunks, shove it in this box. Don't know why, but everyone seems to have their pre-ferment in lumps when they do it as a bigger, so put it all in there. Right, okay, so here is my pre-ferment now. This is going to set my worktop at room temperature for about 2 hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours, and then it's going to go in the fridge for, I'm going to guess, probably just shy of 2 days until I'm ready to start mixing the rest of the water and the salt into this. So we will see what this looks like in a couple of hours and then pop it in the fridge and then take it out in a few days. Okay, hey guys, we're back. We're about a day and a half later now, I think. And here is the Biga. Obviously you can see it's quite a bit bigger than it was before, quite a bit bigger than it was before. It's risen up. You can see it's developed some really good structure and some air in there. We're going to take this out, we're going to chop it up into chunks, and we're going to get it in the mixer, which is behind me over there. The other ingredient that I'm going to need at this point is 442 mils of water. Now this is water and ice. It's pretty icy, pretty cold. That's because I know that mixing a really stiff dough like this and trying to get that water into the dough in that mixer is going to make it pretty warm. So I want to try and keep a handle on the temperature, and I've also got 60 grams or 3% of the total flour weight of salt as well. So let's get this out of here, and already, yep, smells great. And it's going to taste pretty good too, I think. Oh, let me get a scraper. I need a scraper. There we go, back with a scraper just to help me get this out and make sure I don't leave any bits behind. So now that's all scraped out, essentially all we're going to do here is just chop this up into chunks. Not too big, because this is going to be quite hard work for any mixer to do, even if you've got a fancy spiral mixer. So we'll get it chopped up and chucked in there. And when we get all this in the mixer, the order that we're going to do things is we're going to add maybe half the water at the start, get that incorporated, and then we're going to drip the water in bit by bit until we've only got a little bit remaining, at which point then we're going to add in the salt and then the last of the water. And then we'll knead it until a dough temperature of about 25 or 26 degrees. Right, so as I said, no salt yet. We're just going to go in with some water first. And start that mixing. Now some people would say when you're doing this you want to leave your Biga out of the fridge for about an hour before you start, but personally I actually think that that's pointless because the mixer is going to heat everything up anyway. So as long as you're aiming for that final dough temp, you shouldn't have to leave your Biga out of the fridge first. And when you're doing this, you want to be adding that water and that ice fairly slowly. You want to put it in bit by bit, and don't really add any more until the water that you've added previously has been absorbed by the dough. And then when you get to the point where you've only got a little bit of water left, that's when you want to add your salt, and then the final bit of water, and then carry on mixing until you get to the dough temperature of maybe about 25-ish degrees. That's where you want to be. Oh. Okay, right, so dough is kneaded to temp of like 25-ish degrees. This is just olive oil, which I'm going to spray on this surface so nothing sticks to it, hopefully. And just get that all covered. And then I'm going to try and stretch out this dough and do some laminating with it before we put it to bulk. Oh! That's quite a strong dough. So this step here is optional, but I like to do it. I think it works well for me. What you want to do is you want to get the dough and you want to stretch it out on a large surface, and then you want to fold it in on itself and really start forming some good structure within the dough ball. Oil your hands or put some water on your hands and work very quickly. Don't hold it for too long and make sure you oil the surface first. So that dough, as you saw when it came out of the machine, was pretty sticky all over my hands, but now, after that sort of stretching out and building a tight gluten cloak around the outside, you are able to handle it pretty easily. So I'm going to shove this in a box now to bulk proof for about 2 hours, and then I'm going to ball it up, freeze most of it, and we're going to make one pizza this afternoon with it and see how it turns out. Now, in an unfortunate turn of events here, I didn't realise that my microphone wasn't actually turned on, so you can't hear anything I'm saying. So what I've decided to do is speed up the footage, save you watching it all, and just explain to you what I'm doing. So we've had a nice 2 hour bulk proof, dough's risen up nicely, so now we're going to ball it up into 12 balls, 11 of which are going to go into the freezer, and one of which I'm going to leave for about 3 hours out on the side, and I'm going to make a nice pizza with it, see how it turns out, and then we can compare that to what the frozen dough's like in a month's time. All right then, let's give this a try and see how we go. So I'm just going to make a nice little cheese and tomato pizza here. Hopefully nice cheese and tomato pizza. So it's been 2 hours since we balled this dough up and put it in this box. And the plan is that it should be ready. It looks very big and full of air. So we'll see if this pops out easily, which it did. Lovely. Now it's already round, which is handy. Feels like a very light dough, to be honest, so hopefully this will be pretty good pizza. Again, on the basis of much better videos on the internet of people stretching pizzas than me, I've fast forwarded through all of this so you don't have to watch it all. Once I launched the pizza in the oven, I think the total cook time on this pizza was probably about 90 seconds, so not really long at all. Some people might say that this is a bit too dark. I actually like a bit of char on the outside of my pizza, so I don't really mind it. Maybe it could have done with 10 seconds less or a little bit less close to the flame. But the proof is in the eating, I suppose, isn't it? Right, okay, so I'm going to say this is like quite a contemporary style pizza though. Look at the size of the crust on there, very big and puffed up and airy. And what we'll do is we're going to cut into this pizza and see how it looks inside. There you go, really nice in there. Sorry about that, there was someone at the door. So we'll go for that again, we'll chop this open and see how this looks inside. I think that's pretty good crust. So remember what this looks like, and then when we get a frozen one out the freezer, bring that up to temp, we'll compare it to this. But obviously sauce everywhere. That's a very nice rise on that though. And it is delicious. Okay guys, so we're 1 month further down the line and I fancy some pizza today. So here is a frozen dough ball that I've got out of my freezer, and here is an oiled container. I'm just gonna plonk the dough ball in there, pop a lid on it, and I'm gonna leave this on the worktop in my kitchen for about 6 hours. And at that point, I'm just gonna hopefully make a nice pizza out of it. So Let's see how it goes. This pizza dough is looking a bit puffier than it was earlier, and I'm ready for my lunch. So I'm going to make a pizza. So I've got here my box of semola ricotta, however you pronounce that. Very fine double milled semolina. And I've got my pizza dough here. There it is. I'm going to just put some semola down on the bench. It's bench flour. And then we're going to dump this out here. Very soft dough, should be hopefully quite easy to work with, which again, considering I've done absolutely nothing with this today, we're hoping for a nice easy pizza. All that. Still feels like quite a strong flour actually. This has been, like I said, in the freezer for a month. Snap some of those bubbles out of there. And what we're going to go for with this pizza, rather than a standard tomato base, is we're going to go for some pesto alla Genovese. Going to go for some pecorino romano, a couple of extra basil leaves because you can never have too much basil on a pizza, and then we're going to go for some mozzarella, and this is like the block of mozzarella rather than the ball, the wet ball, because we don't want it too soggy. It's really going to be quite a heavy pizza this actually, with that amount of pesto that's gone on it. We'll just wipe these hands off and get it on the peel. Just get our fingers under the pizza and lift her up onto there. And then we can give her a nice final stretch out on here and rearrange the toppings because I moved the cheese everywhere. So let's get her in the oven. Okay guys, there's the pizza. I'm going to bring it up over there and show you a bit closer. So there it is. That's not too bad for a pizza that I've done nothing for. Lovely and soft, puffy crust. Beautiful. Let's just cut into this. See how it looks inside. And how it tastes as well. Nice structure inside. Really tastes really good, really light, really nice. And on the base, I've done absolutely zero work on this today. To be able to turn out a pizza like this with zero effort by just getting it out of the freezer. In retrospect on this one, probably a little less pesto, or blitz it up so that those pine nuts aren't as chunky inside the pesto. But absolutely a fantastic way to prepare your dough and then not have to do anything. You can just crack on and bake. So if you're out all day, just get your pizza out in the morning, leave it on the side, and then in the afternoon you'll be having a great old time. Smash like, hit subscribe guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Oysters out.